One of the most common archetypes in popular fiction is the wise elderly martial arts master, typically portrayed as a man from East Asia or from East Asian descent who has dedicated his life to the mastery of his mind, body, and soul. Long after reaching the peak of his physical fitness, he dedicates his life to mentoring the next generation of those seeking mastery and wisdom. And then there is this.
Because I honestly think that Hitler was a good guy. I really do think before Hitler got on meth, he was a guy to go fishing with.
The fun little crackers always baked and made with real cheese.
The snack that smiles back.
Ball sack.
I could probably go on for 10 minutes talking about how dumb Bryce Mitchell is.
He wanted to purify it by kicking the greedy Jews out that were destroying his country and turning them all into gays.
That this is a guy who took a drill through his nutsack.
They were gaying out the kids. They were queering out the women. They were queering out the dudes. When he got on meth and he turned on Russia, I believe that's when he kind of went full nutty.
I think he's probably one of the dumbest, literally one of the dumbest human beings.
There is a stereotype that mastery of physicality, be it athleticism or attractiveness, usually coincides with subpar intellectual abilities, and vice versa.
Recent polls have shown a fifth of Americans can't locate the U.S. on a world map. Why do you think this is?
I personally believe that U.S. Americans are unable to do so because some people out there in our nation don't have maps, and I believe that our education, like such as in South Africa and the Iraq, everywhere like such as.
Porn stars are renowned for their beauty and quote-unquote skills, but no one watches Mia Khalifa for her philosophical takes, no matter how much the Oxford Union tells us to. Mike Tyson was one of the greatest boxers of all time, but he was not a wizard of wit.
I may like fornicate more than other people. It's just who I am. I sacrificed so much of my life. Can I at least get laid? You know what I mean? I've been robbed of most of my money. Can I at least get a blowjob?
Assalamu alaikum, Maida. I don't know, man. Yeah.
Likewise, those who excel in intellectual pursuits are usually not renowned for their fighting skills or sex appeal. Stephen Hawking would not last long in the octagon, nor would there have been much of a market for his OnlyFans account. Granted, many great fighters were renowned for their clever quips and trash talk.
I have wrestled with an alligator. I done tussled with a whale. I done handcuffed lightning, throw thunder in jail. That's bad. Only last week, I murdered a rock, injured a stone, hospitalized a brick. I'm so mean I make medicine sick.
And others, not so much.
I'll f you till you love me, faggot.
Trash talk is part of a greater drama that takes place in the realm of competitive fighting, a form of storytelling with larger-than-life characters. Character traits of the protagonists, antagonists, and everyone else in between can exist in the ring or the octagon in an eternal narrative conflict of man versus man. Boxing took this from earlier forms of martial arts, and MMA took this from boxing to an even greater or lower level. Some of these MMA fighters have the ability to read minds and bend the rules of grammar while speaking in the first and second person at the same time.
Everybody had question of what type of heavyweight you were. You showed it once on Tim Sylvia in 38 seconds. You've done it again against Andre Arlovski in 3 minutes and 34 seconds. Let me tell you how you're feeling right now.
One of these legends is Tito Ortiz, whose cognitive abilities allow him to bend time and space to the point when months during the spring actually happen during the autumn.
Now, is it true you're coming back in the fall, though, that the fight will be in the fall?
Yes, it'll be in April. I start camp probably around in the beginning of July, so, I'll have another long camp as always. But
April?
Yeah.
Tito has entered the realm of political philosophy and history. taking on the notion that America is a nation of immigrants. He stated that this could not be true because the immigrants who came to America and built the country did so between 800 and 900 years ago. According to those dumb historians, the only old world people who knew of the Americas were a few stinky Vikings who died and were forgotten. They also claim that 800 years ago was the time of the Mongolian Empire, not the colonization of the Americas. Doesn't mean shit though, because Tito can use his gigabrain to change the sequence of chronological order. His ability to change the fabric of space and time has even caused him to refer to his wife as his great mother-in-law. But Tito is a mere undergrad student compared to the intellectual might of Jake Shields. The number of hits to the face have turned the insides of Jake's skull into neural paste. The neural synapses have been rearranged to the power of punches to the point in which he can see scenarios and patterns that lesser minds cannot fathom of. One scenario I never wanted to fathom was the image of Andrew Tate mating with Greta Thunberg. Shields fantasized about Tate using his genitals to remove the feminism out of Greta's body. Jake Shields would eventually have a falling out with Tate after Tate came out as being pro-vaccine. This conflicted with Jake Shields' pro-smallpox and pro-measles philosophy. He is even a more renowned historian than Tito, claiming that the Holocaust was quote-unquote a fiction of the Jewish imagination, and that Hitler, quote, wasn't pushing hatred towards other races. Granted, there is one Jewish guy he is quite fond of supporting. His name is Jeffrey Epstein. He teamed up with another white nationalist and gay rights activist by the name of Nick Fuentes, but the friendship fell apart when he claimed that Fuentes was an FBI agent. Like many profound thinkers, Jake Shields is very anti-book. He came out in favor of Hitler's book burnings, claiming that the books were burned because they were promoting transgender propaganda during the 1940s. Next up is another great thinker, Sean Strickland. Like Jake Shields, Strickland has expressed pro-little mustache views, but unlike the normies, he can get away with it because he's really good at punching people in the ribs. One aspect of Strickland's career as a scholar which I found impressive was his ability to take the most cancerous subject of discourse, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and manage to piss everyone off as he broke away from the pro-Trump crowd due to his anti-Israel stance, while at the same time referring to the Palestinians as quote-unquote dirty Palestinians. Which I guess is true given all the dust from the rubble. He claimed to engage in also refer to Chinese people as quote animals, which is scientifically accurate since all humans are biological animals. The one race of people he is fond of are Australians. He described Australia as being a place where quote everybody is happy and white, end quote. A 3-second Google search would have informed him that Australia's non-white population makes up over a quarter of the country. But none of this matters since Jews and Asians invented statistics to destroy the white race. Strickland has also come under hot water for claiming that no one cares about women's sports. Well, he isn't exactly wrong. Unless you count the ass shots of volleyball players. To be fair to Strickland, he is an avowed male feminist, claiming that, quote, there's nothing wrong with women. They do great things. They cook, they clean, end quote. Granted, Strickland's greatest intellectual contribution was his octagon debate with Sneeko.
There you go.
Oh.
Next up is Bryce Mitchell. Bryce Mitchell is not only a great fighter, but also an astute economist, having dedicated his career to studying monetary policy in particular. He accused the US Federal Reserve of manipulating the value of the US dollar. I mean, yeah, the US Federal Reserve does manipulate the value of the US dollar by setting up interest rates. That is kind of the job of the central bank, to influence, I guess you could call it manipulate, our monetary policy. This is kind of like accusing Congress of changing public policy, manipulating public policy. It's kind of like accusing Burger King of selling subpar burgers. That's the whole point. One can make a legitimate point about how the Federal Reserve operates, but has yet to write a thesis on the subject of interest rates, money supply, or inflation. I'm waiting. Aside from being an economist, is also a geologist, promoting his hypothesis that the Earth is flat.
Dude, I'm not stupid. Let me tell you what I mean. Here's a picture of the circle of the Earth, supposedly, if you believe in a globe. And the red circle is the helicopter. When the helicopter ascends above the Earth's surface, it now has a larger flight path around the Earth, as in when the Earth, the inside circle, the black circle, does one full rotation, the red circle, or the flight of the helicopter, actually has to cover more distance to get back to the same spot. That's what I meant, okay? If you don't understand geometry of spheres and circles, that's going to go right over your head. But what I said makes perfect sense. And I'm actually a lot smarter than a lot of y'all think. Some of y'all can't even keep up with me. That's the sad part. This is basic geometry. Some of y'all might not be able to understand what I'm saying. But God bless you. And keep doing your own research, because there is no proof that the Earth rotates.
He isn't just a geologist. He is also an expert in Newtonian physics. In fact, he's such an expert in physics to the point in which he could deny the laws of physics that claiming that gravity is a quote-unquote hoax.
You put your faith in science. Let me tell you something right now, Bisping. Gravity ain't real. You know what?
Sorry. I've actually seen your.
Gravity ain't real. You want to tell me you don't believe in God because there's no evidence? Give me the proof of gravity. You know why things drop to the ground? Because of density, brother. Oh yeah, you drop something and it falls down. Well, that's real cute. What if you do it with the helium balloon?
Well, it's got helium in it. It's got helium. That was caused it to go
But
up.
helium has mass. I thought gravity worked on mass. How come the helium doesn't go down?
Here is scientific proof of gravity proven to be scientific bullshit when Mitchell falls down. A lot of people think that science and religion are enemies, but Mitchell also proves that you can be a scientist and a man of faith. As a Christian, he has stood firm against the enemies of Christ, calling Elon Musk a probable antichrist and a false prophet. Last on the list is the intellectual known as Jonathan Paul Copenhaver, more commonly known as War Machine. Like most PhD candidates, War Machine was a polymath, having accomplished careers in both MMA and pornography. He would eventually date the corn star Christy Mack, but after the relationship ended would break into her house and beat her and a male friend. He also allegedly tried to grape her but couldn't get it hard. He would eventually be sent to prison and would quote the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, saying, quote, "To die proudly when it is no longer possible to live proudly." Well, he will live and die proudly in prison as he was convicted for life. As in a previous video I made about World of Warcraft neckbeards, I mentioned the author Jonathan Gottschall in his book The Storytelling Animal. In another book he wrote called The Professor in the Cage, he mentions the storytelling power of fighting matches. Quote, They often seem ridiculous and sometimes end in tragedy, but they serve a vital function. They help men work out conflicts and thrash out hierarchies while minimizing carnage and social chaos. Without the restraining codes of the monkey dance, the world would be a much bleaker and more violent place. But these fights aren't just physical, they are also verbal. In regards to that, he further states, earlier, we saw how instinctive choreography of standard human fights have been elaborated into a world of various formal dueling systems. The same goes for the monkey dance of the banter of the fight, which always involves the same basic moves and rules. Two men take turns hurling boasts and insults. The contests draw spectators who laugh and hoot as the men denigrate each other's masculinity while also leveling hilariously vile attacks on relatives, especially mothers. All around the world, the verbal duel is a pure monkey dance for the mind, in which men compete in verbal artistry, wit, and the ability to take a rhetorical punch. And those rhetorical punches are the bread and butter of my channel. If you like what you saw, subscribe, give it a like, or even better, send me a hate comment. Just make sure it's an insult that packs a punch. An insult your grandmother would be proud of.